coming back, everybody. I missed you. We're getting ready to go over one of the most important parts of troubleshooting here at Charter. This is our connected, not transferring troubleshooting. What is CNT? What causes CNT? And how do I troubleshoot CNT? Those are all good questions, and I'm glad you asked. We're going to go over them. What is CNT? CNT stands for connected, not transferring. When this occurs, the modem's online. It's indicating to us that it's got a good connection, but for some reason the customer is not able to surf the web. They can't send email, they can't receive email, and often the computer might actually be pulling a valid Charter IP address from that modem, or it might even be pulling a 169.254 IP address, which is a non-routable IP address. What do we support? Our support parameters for CNT on the legacy Windows systems, which is Windows 98 or Windows Millennium Edition. We will check and correct TCP IP settings. We will disable firewalls. And we will check and renew IP addresses using WinIP CFG. What we do not support on Windows legacy systems, again that's Windows 98, Windows Millennium Edition, we will not support USB cable modems connected to Windows 98. We will not work in a device manager. We will not identify NIC issues using that device manager. We do not install or uninstall TCP/IP. We will never ever delete or install Windows components or system devices. And we will not use Windows Millennium Edition's backup restore wizard. Another thing, never ever use any activity that's specifically excluded from mainstream or current operating systems. So if it's specifically for Windows XP, if it's such as safe mode, do not do that on Windows 98. Okay? For Windows XP in 2000, we do a little bit more. We can go a step further in our troubleshooting. We do support USB cable modems directly connected to the non-legacy systems. Again, that's Windows XP, Windows 2000. We work in the device manager. We can actually go in there and identify network interface card issues from the device manager in Windows XP. We will uninstall and install TCP/IP. And we can delete or install Windows components or system devices. Different types of IP addresses. You guys probably are a little bit familiar with these, so I'm going to go into them a little bit more in depth. But 169.254 IP address, that again means that the IP is assigned by Windows because it's non-routable. The customer will never, ever, ever get online if they're pulling a 169. If they've got a 192.168.100 IP address, this is the IP address of the cable modem. This is going to be a very common IP address. It usually means that there's some sort of signal issue, possibly RF. It means that the computer sees that modem, but it can't see anything beyond the modem. It doesn't see our network. And if they are pulling that modem IP address, please notice that the third octet right there is always going to be 100. If they're pulling a 192.168. anything else, if this third octet is not 100, that means that they've got a router. They might tell you they don't have a router, but they're pulling a router IP address. And the final set of IP addresses that I want to go over are valid IP addresses. Those are usually double-digit IP addresses. They start with 66247168. This is a valid Charter IP address that we're sending to that modem. It means that the modem is picking up the signal that we're sending to it. But for some reason, there's miscommunication going on between that modem and the computer. And it's your job as a tech to figure out what's causing that. What are some common causes for connected not transferring? That is a great question. One possible cause is radio frequency, or RF. You want to rule out signal issues first on every single call, regardless of the IP address. Another issue might be home networking issue. If they've got a router hooked up, then they're going to pull that router IP address. And if that modem's online, but the computer is not getting online, and they're pulling a router IP, it might just be a router issue. It might be a hardware issue, especially if they've got a 169 IP address, then it might be an issue with the network interface card on that computer, so you want to troubleshoot that. If they've got firewalls or any kind of virus protection, such as Norton or even the Charter High-Speed Security Suite, sometimes we'll get that computer so protected from threats that they can't even access the internet on the computer, so keep that in mind. Other third-party software issues can cause some connected not transferring issues, and DHCP or DNS issues. That's if they're pulling a 169 and they unscrew that coax and they start pulling a 192, but you screw the coax back in on the modem and it goes back to 169. That could be an issue on our end. RF issues. Again, we rule out RF first thing, every call. Now, you guys probably already know the signal levels. Downstream RX is going to be anywhere from negative 13 to positive 13. And that's good. The upstream, or the TX, transmit power level, is going to be anywhere between 30 to 55. That's good. Now, the SNR, or the signal-to-noise ratio, needs to be greater than 25. If any of those signals are out of whack, then that customer's probably got some RF or some radio frequency. Another thing you can do is check the lights on the modem, power cycle the modem, and check the lights again to see if they're still bad or if they go good. Check the signal levels. You can use either the modem internals, which is probably the most accurate, or you can use solar winds, which you can check on your end. You also, if you can't find any other proofs, you can check the status of the cable TV, and you want to check the lower channels between channel 3 to channel 20, and if any of those channels are staticky, especially number 3, then that's a secondary proof of RF. Home networking issues. If the customer has multiple PCs, or if the PC is pulling a router IP address, there might be some home networking going on there. You want to power cycle all of the components. So say they've got a router. Power cycle the modem first, then power cycle the router, and then renew the IP address to see if you're still getting that same IP. If the customer's offline, then go ahead and just bypass the router altogether because we don't support connectivity through that router. Then directly connect the modem to the computer, power cycle again, and see what IP address they're pulling. If they're online on one PC, then you know it's not our issue because that modem's online and they can support on they can surf on one computer. But if they can't surf on the other computers on that network, it's probably just a router issue, and at that point, just refer to the router manufacturer. Hardware issues. You do want to check the modem lights for PC connection. There should be an Ethernet connectivity light on that modem. Go ahead and check and make sure if they're using Ethernet that light is lit up. If they're using USB, they might have a PC light or a USB light on the modem. Make sure that light is lit up correctly. You can check the lights on the network card on the back of the PC where that cord is actually plugging into the back of the computer. And you can also swap the Ethernet cable ends. Sometimes if they don't have the cord plugged in correctly, just swapping the ends of that cord and taking the end out of the back of the modem and plugging it directly into the back of the computer, and taking the end that's in the back of the computer and plugging it into the modem will sometimes secure that cord to the point that the customer gets online. You can verify that the network adapter is in the device manager and that it's enabled. A lot of times you'll get customers that call in and you'll spend a lot of time troubleshooting with them when all you had to do was check at the start of the call and make sure that that device manager had your network card enabled. That would have saved you all that time troubleshooting. Another thing you can do is release and renew the IP address. And this can be done two ways in Windows XP. You can either go through the DOS prompt and actually have them type in commands on their command prompt, or you can go through the graphical user interface in Windows XP, which there's actually a step-by-step on CCI that walks you through how to do that step-by-step. Firewalls and viruses. This is another thing that can cause connected not transferring. And you want to make sure at the start of the call, just to save yourself some time, go ahead and turn off or disable any firewalls. You can do that directly from the system tray in the bottom right-hand corner of the computer screen. Just have the customer right-click and choose the option that says exit or disable or turn off. Don't forget that Windows XP and Macintosh OS also have their own firewalls, so you want to make sure you turn those off too because sometimes they can block the internet connection. Then the next thing you want to do is do a telnet to verify that that port 80 is open and not blocked. You can also turn off or disable the virus protection, similar to the way that you would do with the firewalls. And if that solves the issue, you know that it was the firewall or it was the virus protection software, so you can go ahead and refer to that manufacturer. It's a very common problem. And again, in CCI, under third-party vendors, we've got telephone numbers for just about any company you will ever need to refer a customer to. If they've got the Charter High Speed Security Suite, and you determine that it is the Charter High Speed Security Suite, if you've exited the program, disabled the program, and suddenly they're able to surf, it probably was the Charter High Speed Security Suite. At that point, you could transfer gas. Third-party software. Let's say that your customer pulls up Internet Explorer, tries to type in one website, and they're suddenly redirected to a completely different website. And it doesn't matter what they type in Internet Explorer, this happens every single time. That's called browser hijacking. It can cause error messages in Internet Explorer. It's usually caused by spyware or third-party issues. It can take them to a home page they don't want to go to. They could have a corrupted browser. It's possible it's spyware. The customer should try to reinstall it. We can send them push docs. We can't walk them through this, but we can send them push documents, customer education on browser installs, repair steps. All of these things are found in KMS. There's also some on CCI. You can also check Internet Explorer settings to make sure that they've got everything set up correctly, that they don't have their home page set to a page that they don't want it to be. To do that, open up Internet Explorer, have them click on Tools, and go down to Internet Options. And from there, you can make sure that they aren't set to dial a connection. You can also clear their LAN settings and make sure that everything's set up correctly on Internet Explorer. Corrupt and incorrect settings. You can check Device Manager for their network interface card and USB settings. To do this, look under Network Adapters and see if the computer is recognizing that there is a network adapter. Now, if it doesn't, you want to check other devices. Is the adapter disabled? Again, it'll save you so much time at the start of the call if you just check and make sure that the device is not disabled. Is it installed correctly? You can also check the network connection in Windows XP in 2000. Make sure that they do have one, because if they don't even have a network connection, then that's probably the problem. If they have one and it's disabled, just right-click on it and enable it. You can check TCP/IP settings in Windows 98 and Windows Millennium Edition, but again, we don't go much further than that in Windows 98. DHCP issues. This will happen on occasion. If the customer is having DHCP issues, some of the things that you would look for to kind of signal that they are having a DHCP issue include if the PC is renewing to either a modem assigned, that's the 192.168.100 IP address, or the install site IP address after hitting the reset button in Aurora and power cycling. Now what you can do, if you remove the coax cable and you suddenly get a 192 when they were pulling a 169 with the coax before, try putting the coax back in and see if it returns to the 169 or if it stays at 192. If it returns to 169, it might be something on our end, so we might want to open up a lead chat to trend DHCP issues. Another thing is the modem internal logs might show DHCP errors if there's some sort of DHCP issue going on. What do I do? If there's a DHCP issue, we can actually just contact the escalation team for trending, and in most cases that's just going to be your lead team. DNS issues. If the customer is having DNS issues, they might be able to ping out by IP address, but when they actually try to ping by the actual website name, it's not going to work. They might be able to surf using the website IP address, but when they type google.com into Internet Explorer, it's not taking them anywhere. It might have the same results with a specified working DNS server address. You can try 209.225.8.42, and you can specify their IP address, and you can disable firewalls. What do I do? You can contact the escalation team for training, again, just like DHCP issue. What is DNS? The domain name system is the way that the internet domain names are located and translated into IP addresses automatically. It's just a way for us to translate all this code of the internet, and it's kind of like a physical address for the sites on the web. For example, yahoo.com is a domain name that's assigned to the IP address 64.58.76.223. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't be able to remember that number, so remembering yahoo.com is a lot easier for me. You can think of DNS as a phone book. It basically converts the name that we place into the browser and it translates it into a number, which is the IP address number. Helpful tools. Pings and trace routes. You can use NetLab on your PC, and you can ping the customer IP, you can ping the gateway or the DHCP, or you can ping the DNS server. You can also have the customer do pings and trace routes. They can ping the loopback IP address, which is 127.0.0.1. They could ping their customer IP address. They could ping the gateway in DHCP, or they could ping DNS. Is that the end? Are you kidding? Yeah, so do you have any other questions about CNT? Hopefully I answered all of your questions. If you got any more, just ask your trainer. And I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this presentation.